organization or the HRs. So since we all used to have kitties. Now I'm talking from an HR perspective, that we all used to have a kitty in our budget, that this is for team lunches, this is for the get-togethers, events, and all these things. But due to pandemic, what has happened is all the live events, or I should say, all the events have moved to virtual events. So
Right.
how an organization or HR can utilize that budget in a better way to help employee, or for the well-being of the employee?
I think this is something we've discussed also, and my view on this is that HR budgets need to undergo a lot of restructuring now. And I think you only mentioned to me that employee well-being is now becoming a focus area. It's appearing as a line item in the budgets that HR and organizations are making. So that is the case, and especially in the context of what has happened last year, it is imperative that both HR and organizations now start including these initiatives actively and for their employees, right? So there's several things that can happen, right from doing basic workshops to one-on-one counseling or coaching, ensuring that the whole well-being piece is addressed. I'm saying, and given my whole background in the area, I would say financial well-being should be special focus area, so that people have suffered the way they have suffered in the last year, that doesn't happen again, really. That's very important. And this kind of a tagline that I'd like to mention, a punchline kind of I'd like to mention, is that most people, when they approach their jobs, the question is, what can I do for money? Right? The earning is what their focus area is. I'm saying here's an opportunity to transform this whole equation and let them ask the other question, which is, what can I make my money do for me? As soon as that happens, you realize the whole jumping around for jobs, for higher pay packages, etc., I think is going to reduce significantly, and people are going to bring in the best to the job that they're doing, because now they have a structure, they know where they're going, right? What the money is the money enough for them or not? If those concerns are addressed, I think organizations can just fly from there.
Yeah, today's generation is very much aware of what they are doing and how they should plan about their career, about their finance, and yeah, they're very, very well aware of what is going on in the society right now. So yes, your question is very much valid then, that they should know how to make money out of the money they have in hand. They should plan better.
Right.
Yeah, somebody suggesting a book, Rich Dad Poor Dad. Yes, every employee should read it. Yes, there are a couple of books you should read.
Every investor beginning their journey, probably this is one of the books to read.
And if you can suggest some more books.
The best books on investing, since we are talking books here, I think they will not tell you which investment or best investment to pick. The focus will always be how to prepare yourself to deal with your money. So that whole tackling the mind aspect, the behavioral aspect is what counts, right? So, and now suddenly you see the extension, it's about controlling your own mind, bringing in the right kind of information, and hence making the right kind of decisions. That is going to free you of your money worries. That's the thing.
Right. So there are a couple of...
Very well aware, you can see a lot of book recommendations coming,
Yes. I have one question, since we are talking about books here. So is books actually help, or it's the real life experience? See, I have not, while I started my first investment, I didn't read any book that time. I was like, okay, since one of my lecturer told me that you should go and do some investments, we found out that which is better. He didn't recommend us that you should go and buy Axis Bank, or for that matter, any sort of mutual funds. We just went and bought whatever we felt that this is okay. So what do you think? Is this the experience or the bookish knowledge which comes more importantly?
For a lot of people, books become sort of a inspiration or a motivator, or enabling them to take the first step. But ultimately, it's the whole thing is in the action. Right? You can read 10,000 books and yet not do a single thing, and you will be at the same place forever. And the people who have not read any books, as you have said, and they've just they've taken small baby steps, increase them over time, and they are at an altogether different place. Sure.
So I have one question: is how an individual can plan his taxes? See, since the budget has come up this month, and everybody was expecting a better budget in terms of salaried person, but it has not come to the expectation what we were actually thinking. And we are also listening to the amendment which is coming in the month of April, that people working from home or from their native, they will have a pay cut. They can take a pay cut option and all these things. So what do you say about this?
See, taxation has been like a big obsession with individuals for many years. For some reason, I don't understand it. As I started my journey, my obsession was also with tax. I think as realization happened, we thought, we came to know that tax is just one part of the whole investing equation. Okay. I mean, let me give an example. People invest their money in FDs, okay, at 5%, 6%, 7%, end up paying their tax bracket rate of, whatever tax is. If you're on 30%, you'll pay 30%. If I'm 10%, I'll pay 10% tax. The point is, we have not cared to make ourselves aware that there are options exist which are equally safe and can get you a better tax adjusted return. Why do you have to depend on the government to announce a lower tax bracket or a tax cut? And there are options in the market itself to help you do better. So, yes, the budget may not have given you what you wanted. And I mean, honestly, the market disagrees with you. The market shot up like anything because of the budget. But don't focus too much on taxes, right. Honestly. Making financial decisions only on the basis of taxation can lead you to places where you don't want to be in. And again, I'm speaking from personal experience of, dealing with hundreds of individuals here. No. In fact, I'm responsible for a lot of people paying off their loans. Can you imagine? Who had taken them because they wanted to save taxes.
Okay.
So
you mean to say that, So I have a question to this, a leading question to this. I have seen many people buying a property to save tax. So what do you say about that? Is it a good option to buy a property to save tax?
See, let's say this investment or this property buying is happening for investment purposes. Okay. Now, a lot of people I deal with, and I'll speak for them, they bought the property hoping that while they're buying it, they will be able to sell it at a higher price, right? That's a simple game of investment. The problem is they buy something at 50 lakhs on loans where they're paying, suppose, a 50,000 EMI, right? Over the next 10, 15, 20 years. And suppose the rate of interest is 7% or 8%, assuming it happened 5 years ago, that was 9%, right? Now in 9%, if you're in the highest tax bracket, right, you pay 30% tax, right? So your interest to that extent will become less costly. So 9% will be reduced by about 30% because that's the tax saving you will be getting effectively. So, but you're still paying what? 70% of the 9%, which is 6.3%. That's still a outflow from your pocket, right?
Yes.
6.3% is still going out from your pocket. Now, on top of it, while you're doing this, the rest of the money from your side, which you could have used to buy the property, is sitting nicely in an FD, which is again earning you 5% post-tax.
5%.
So you are out of pocket further.
Right.
Okay. So unless you have figured out this equation that if I'm taking something on loan, I can use the money to earn a better or higher rate of return, it's not going to make sense. Then the last thing, now you go out to sell a property. Okay. You bought it for 50, but you ended up paying an overall amount of interest, etc. that has now cost you 1 crore. 50 lakhs of actual value, 50 lakhs of interest, suppose. Right? And now you're selling for 70 lakhs and you're very happy. 50 ka 70 ho gaya. The point is you actually paid 1 crore and you're left with 70. You're not accounting for the interest. Right? Now, I'm not saying everyone is doing this. What I'm saying is buying a property on loans to save tax is a disaster for most people.
There's a question. How HR can benefit on taxes by putting employee wellness at the forefront?
I'm not sure if I understand this question correctly, but if they are saying that can HR get some sort of tax benefit, is that what it means?
It means that how organization can take the benefit out of the tax, what they're paying right now, by putting employee wellness. So how we can use employee wellness?
Unfortunately, I don't think HR can take any tax benefits here. The whole idea of HR doing employee well-being or financial well-being is to bring out more from the individuals, the way they contribute to the organization, and standard terms like less absenteeism and higher productivity and more commitment to the organization, right? I think those are the finer aspects that will get in play here, right? And again, if you look at various playbooks now around the whole organization management, they would say a satisfied employee is more important than a satisfied customer first.
Right.
So there's a very hidden benefit here, which is, right, if you have employees who are not hopping jobs anymore for higher pay packages or coming back again and again asking for raise in salaries, you're looking at a lot of savings in terms of hiring fresh people and training them again, right? Because people are staying back, and as any good business will say, a cost of acquisition has to be minimized, right? An existing customer is a far better customer to have.